A very good morning to everybody. On behalf of National Commission for Women and Netflix, we warmly welcome all our distinguished dignitaries, our esteemed speakers, as well as our cheerful audience. Our sincere gratitude to each one of you for being with us here today. As we all are aware, let's have a big round of applause first. As we all are aware that the media and entertainment industry has an integral part to play in ensuring equality, inclusivity, and also participation. Keeping in mind the transformative power the media holds to amplify voices, facilitate meaningful conversations, and foster social change. NCW and Netflix valuable contribution of media in the promotion of gender equality. On this encouraging and optimistic note, I'd request Ms. Tanya Bami, Series Head, Netflix India, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's such a bright, colorful, some in uniform, some in bright colors, which only women can bring. So lovely to be here and lovely to see all of you here. At the outset, I'd like to thank the National Commission for Women for partnering with Netflix to host this event. When I was a young girl, when people used to ask me, what do you want to be? Like every child, I think I used to always have a different answer every time. How much we can spread our wings, how far we can fly, how high we can reach. And I thought then that not just the women actually, that I had enough strong men who were progressive, who were courageous, and who backed me enough to actually take that leap. So I think it's great to see an equal balance here today of that as well. And in the words of Mother Teresa, I'd like to say, I cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters and create many ripples. Young girls today have, look up to. And that is actually what shapes, I think, not just the generation of young girls, but also boys, and helps us create a strong future for young women leaders in the country. The theme of the event today is Her Story, Her Voice. And at Netflix, it's been a constant endeavor, relatable, that depict the flight that women have taken, the strong characters that they fulfill every single day in our life. And we have a strong character and a woman who's just entered. And directors and have really strong female characters, led by very strong women like Huma in Monica, Oh My Darling, on Netflix. In 2023, in fact, we have some even more exciting stories like that. We have Hansal Mehta's Scoop, which has, which is Jagruti Pathak's story. We have Jhulan Goswami's story in Chakda. We have Mahima in Kathal. Some of these you've seen, some of these I hope you will see, and I hope you have many favorites amongst them. And of course, we have the stunning and eclectic Hira Mandi, which has a staggering cast of very strong actors, and Sharma for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am. We are inspired by your work, your vision, and your championing of various women's issues and taking the leaps that you have with your work. I hope it inspires many young women and many, many young storytellers as well. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our panelists who will be speaking today, and I'm looking forward to hearing amazing ideas from each one of you of how we can together work this day, which is to all. Thank you.
बात करती हूँ तो मैं बोलती हूँ पिंक मूवी है जो ज़रूर देखिए, आपको पता चलेगा कैसे आपको ट्रीट करना है दूसरी औरत को। ये तो अच्छी मूवीज़ से हम सीखते भी हैं और उसको हमें बाकी लोगों से भी बात करनी चाहिए कि दैट यू शुड वॉच दिस मूवी। When the OTT platforms came, we have seen the role of women in production, whether it is cinema making, writing scripts, even photographer, everything, everything. Camera persons are women nowadays. And I think this OTD platform has given a big opportunity for every woman to come and follow their dreams in cinema. And we must, आज भी very few women, we can count them on tips, that very few women are getting the same salary which men are getting in cinema. And this is the time, Huma is here, I think this is the time you should start speaking about it. Because gender should not come into the workplace. It should not play a role where women should get less money than men. And everyone should be treated equally. Because I'm from NCW, this is my role to see that no disparity should happen with anyone. And that's why I'm talking all these points, positive plus negative also. And people have started. There are some heroines now who are getting better packages than men also, and that should happen. It should be according to the role. I think we have very good panelists. They will be talking, and we must give more time to them because they are the specialists, and that's why they are the panelists. I once again thank Netflix for collaborating with us. In future, we will be doing.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for highlighting how the media can play an important role in changing the social narrative and initiating breakthrough changes. Madam then highlighted some of the challenges which are there in the industry, including the pay parity, which our panelists will shed light on during the panel. So moving on towards our first panel discussion, which is on the role of media and entertainment in empowering women. So cinema has largely been regarded as a catalyst for social change and a tool for empowerment, where the media is taking enormous efforts to bridge the gap. So to discuss how can the industry reinvent itself, offer more inclusivity in terms of opportunities, and celebrate the efforts of our women filmmakers who are making immeasurable contribution to the enrichment of the industry, we have with us panelists from diverse fields today who will shed light on how the media and entertainment industry can play a positive role in gender equality. So for this session, I'd request all our panelists, Dr. Himanshu Rai, Ms. Huma Qureshi, Mr. Virendra Mishra, Ms. Nayana Sahasrabuddhe, Ms. Priyanka Kher, Mr. Uday Singh, and Swati Chopra to kindly come up on the dais, please.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today as we discuss the role of and the importance of media and entertainment in empowering women. You know, before I go ahead, I have to give a big shout out to the women in uniform who've turned up today in huge numbers, and it's always so good to see you all. You know, media and entertainment have always been and will continue to be an extremely powerful tool. So it's really imperative that they are the force of the change that we need in our society to educate, to tell stories that not only empower women, but also promote gender equality and positivity around us. So today I have with me some of the brightest minds, and I can't wait to know what you all have to say about this. You know, whenever we talk about the subject of women empowerment or gender representation on screen, it's only natural that the focus sometimes shifts towards the shortcomings or the issues that we face. But if I could start this panel on a positive note and ask all of you to answer a recent role that you've maybe seen on screen, a story that you heard that made you believe that there is a shift, that there is progress when it comes to gender representation on screen. Would you like to start, sir?
Hi, good morning. And very interesting that a policeman is being asked the first question. Otherwise, the image is that police is, it features late. So, one story which has impressed me a lot is perhaps Kahani. The role that has been given, and that was an amazing twist. And certainly the role played by the protagonist has been very impressive, and a strong story, talks about women empowerment.
Yes.
And that is what impressed me a lot. And if you ask me a couple of more movies, there are many, like, Badhaiyo is again an amazing trend, which is like, normally you don't think of. So that is again a very powerful movie. But at the same time, like, because we talk about the media and entertainment, I don't know. I haven't seen many of the women's playing very important role. I mean, women police officers. There have been few, but not on a very important role. So as you said, we have so many police officers here.
Yeah.
And that it's a great, scene to see that. So I hope that in future they will be portrayed in a better role. Thank you.
So what about you?
Okay, so for me, there are a couple of movies that have really kind of had an impact on me. First of all, Hidden Figures, which is a bunch of African American women who actually worked in the NASA, and this was a phenomenal movie that brings out the power and the strength of women. There's another movie which hit me really because it was so subtle, and that was English Winglish. And it was so subtle because it brought out the male chauvinism in a very subtle way, where he says, "Isi mein to tum achhi ho," when she's making laddu. And therefore, that was another movie for me which brought out in a very subtle way as to what needs to be done. And even if I look at the OTT, for example, Game of Thrones. I'm a big GOT fan, and I do believe that the world is divided into two parts, one who have watched GOT and those who haven't. And therefore, those of you who haven't watched GOT, I'm going to judge you. Let me tell you up front. Look at the characters, starting right from the negative characters like Cersei, Mother of Dragons, to the positive characters like Sansa or Arya. Extremely powerful characters.
Absolutely.
And finally, the last one is the subtle messaging that comes from movies in parts. Gangs of Wasseypur. Gangs of Wasseypur, where there is a small dialogue, "Mana thodi kiya hai, permission leni chahiye na pehle." That itself is a brilliant way of portraying very, very subtly. So all of these have had a big impact on me.
Right. Ma'am, what about you?
अभी इन दोनों ने कुछ फिल्मों का नाम लिया है.
हाँ जी.
विमेन इन पॉलिटिक्स अगर हम देखेंगे तो आई रिमेंबर आंधी, पिंक का मैडम ने अभी उल्लेख किया था, और इंग्लिश विंग्लिश का भी हो गया है. क्वीन वाज अ फिल्म जिसमें एक थोड़ा सेट अच्छा टॉक इन पॉजिटिव वे, बट फिर भी जो मीडिया में एक निगेटिव टाइप का पोर्ट्रेयल महिलाओं का होता है एज अ विक्टिम, एज अ कमोडिटी, वो मुझे ज़्यादा चिंतित करता है. व्हेन आई वर्क फॉर NGO भारतीय स्त्री शक्ति, तो मुझे उसके बारे में थोड़ी आपत्ति ज़रूर लगती है. एंड समटाइम्स आई फील कि द इंडस्ट्री इज़ एंगेजिंग NGOs इन दे शुड गो एंड अपोज समवेयर लाइक दैट, तो हमें वो भी करना पड़ता है. Last 30 years we have done so many things for rightful and correct portrayal of women in media and entertainment. पहले सिग्नेचर कैंपेन्स होते थे, अभी हम कोर्ट में या पुलिस स्टेशन में कंप्लेंट डालने तक so many things we have done. One of the Marathi movie produced in Mumbai only, which has a very illicit content, and underage boys were shown indulging in illicit activities. So we have gone to police and we have lodged our complaint under POCSO also. So the role of media is to portray positively, and I guess कि सभी लोगों ने उसको support तो करना ही चाहिए. So many things are happening in a good way. I appreciate, I agree, I accept, लेकिन और कुछ बहुत कुछ करने की आवश्यकता है.
There's always room for improvement, ma'am. Uma, what about you?
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन. एक्चुअली क्या है ना कि बहुत सारी फिल्में और पिछले कुछ दशकों में आई थिंक वो फिल्में और ज़्यादा होती जा रही हैं. हम जो एक टर्म है ना कि फीमेल लेड फिल्म्स या फीमेल आजकल स्पेशली ऑन OTT प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक नेटफ्लिक्स दे आर डूइंग really वेल. So definitely there's a shift, but for me it's not just about the female led films that are creating this sense of empowerment. Today as an actor मैं अपनी बात करती हूँ, आपके पास कोई स्क्रिप्ट आती है, आप स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ते हो तो आप उसमें पढ़ के आपको लगते हो कि अरे जो ये लड़की का कैरेक्टर है ये खाली हीरो की जर्नी की एक सहारा नहीं है कि हीरो जंग में जाएगा और मैं उसके लिए खाना बनाऊंगी और वेट करूंगी और उसकी दुआएं पढ़ूंगी. लड़की क्यों जंग पे नहीं जा सकती? You know, and I feel that shift in the way we are approaching films, we are approaching series, approaching storytelling has come about.
Yeah.
Today I know, and I can speak for myself, I know many other colleagues of mine are rejecting, saying no, you know, give us more to do because
was a film called Erin Brockovich, which was highly inspirational, which actually changed the way we thought about, how women could actually change and impact society. It was based on a true story, and I think Julia Roberts did a terrific job in that. Moving forward, since a couple of them have talked about the police, and I happen to be a policeman's son, so I would say Delhi Crime and the portrayal of Shefali Chaya, including addressing the stereotype and saying, Madam Sir,
Yeah.
it kind of plays out and it showed the power of what a police officer can do really, even in uniform.
Right.
So there have been several, but I think this is one a couple of them that just come to mind.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of things that I wanted to. So thank you for bringing up English. And also Delhi Crime. And the reason I say this is that, when we talk about representation of women and roles, the representation and shift happens in several ways. So some are like very direct. So for me, if I had to pick a film, I would say Darlings more recently. And that's primarily because I think it comes from the fact that I work for an organization that works in domestic violence. So actually having a film with Alia in it was actually, so it helps to mainstream a conversation that is otherwise considered as Ghar Ka Mamla, which is a huge thing. But that is a more in-your-face kind of portrayal, or a role where you are largely speaking about domestic violence. But even smaller things like that dialogue in English or Delhi Crime, or the fact that we were talking inside about this show called Anupama, where we've got a seemingly regular middle-class woman, actually very relatable to a lot of us, making those choices in an environment that is a lived reality for a lot of, creating characters that the audience as women or the people around her, so how is her family reacting to her decisions, what are the kind of roadblocks she's facing, so actually depicting those situations and what is she doing is something that really helps in tackling things at a cultural level. So, a couple of, like I said, Darlings is one of them for a completely different reason. Anupama is the other one that I would pick, that I really feel are characters that help in shifting things at a cultural normative level. So, for me, it would be those two.
Think about them being a big cultural force. And there's always a divided opinion that films are a big influence on the society, whereas some believe they aren't as big an influence. Some believe that it probably shapes us the way we think today.
So, that's a very interesting question, Swati, because many people believe that films may not have an impact, but the impact is not just deep, it's also at a subliminal level. And I'll tell you why. So when I teach leadership, for instance, I give them a definition of leadership to my participants and then ask them to name leaders. Even if it's an all-women's group, let's say a group of 30 women, I get only 1 or 2 names of women as leaders. And the other 28, 29 are all men. And when I ask them, more often than not, what I get to hear is, we don't have enough role models. Now, what does it also happens to be J.N. Tata's birthday? Jamsetji Nasarwanji Tata, Tata Steel, all the Tata companies. And it's called the Founders' Day in Jamshedpur. The entire city of Jamshedpur will be celebrated. That impacts a lot. So that is the first level at which the movies have a subliminal effect. The other is a referent power. For example, when a person says, so-and-so company ka thanda tel lagao, is that person a dermatologist? No. Is that person a trichologist? No. But people believe him. For the simple reason that there's this term called referent power that he...
Really strong, powerful women. We at least try in my company that we try have had as many number of female people working in the crew, because the more number of women that are working in the crew, the more safer environment it is. And that's a fact. And the more they feel empowered, in case there's somebody misbehaves with them on set, then you know that you have someone to talk to. You don't feel like, oh, if I raise a voice, then I will be that girl, who said this guy harassed me or whatever. And I think all of us will identify, right? A lot of us don't speak out about sexual harassment because we don't want to be that girl, jiske saath ye hua tha. but the more women there are, they'll be able to relate to it and be able to take action.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Uma, for that. We will come back to you with another question very quickly. But now, Mr. Virendra Mishra, if I may ask you, you're someone who works very closely with different gender-varied issues. So if I had to ask you, is there a story that you could share with us that really moved you or impacted you in a way that you would love to see it on the Cellulite so that the world can know about it?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. It's very interesting. Let me tell you, because everyone is looking at me as a police officer, but I'm a storyteller as well. So I published my first short story book in 2009, and that was women-centric. Then I wrote a novel, Treatise from a Deathbed, and that was again a woman-centric. I'm writing a web series, that again is a woman-centric.
Oh, wow.
So that is very interesting. As you said, you have to live to write. So every man lives, amongst women,
Right.
in between women. So certainly we can't miss them. One thing which I really, feel sad about our movies is that we objectify women a lot. I don't know for what reason. If you see, stalking and, running behind women, even if they say no, then you keep on doing that. And then the woman will fall for you, the girl will fall for you. I know why it has been normalized. And as students of sociology, many must be here, you know what normalization is. Because and as we had been talking about the impact that leaves on the student. I mean, ma'am was talking about the film Kabir. I was working in NISD, National Institute of Social Defense. I was heading that. And, the drug dependency was one of our mandate there. And I could not believe what Kabir was showing there in the movie. Using drugs, violence against women, everything is normalized, it is fine. And after using drug, then it is an excuse for you. This is wrong. It leaves a bad impact because when I used to go and interact with the students, in the colleges, in the institutes, and I used to ask them Kabir and tell me what have you learned from Kabir? They used to say that sir, chal jata hai daru pina aur drugs lena. Drugs lena aur daru pine se chal jata hai, utna galat nahi hai. Believe me, these were the words, verbatim I am telling you. This is the impact that the movies leave. I don't know why do we create that? What was the need of creating such a movie? We have to be a little sensitive about it. And as a writer, as I am saying, I'm seeing the things from, as you said, perhaps the benefit of being a police officer as we are here.
Yeah.
We see the vices and the good things from very close quarters.
Yeah.
I think we are the most, blessed because we come, close to the community as nobody would ever could possibly think of. We get into their kitchen, we get into their bedroom. So we see everything. Only thing is we have to observe it very inquisitively, and at the same time we have to take away what is not supposed to be done in the society. That has inspired me to write stories. One story, all I would like to convert into Cellulite, so whatever I have written, but
Right.
one story that I would certainly, which I'm working on the web series that I'm just writing, and hoping someday I will pitch into someone. So that story is about a girl, and I was posted in one place, that is my own story, in fact, reality. So I was working in a village with a community called Bedia community. Bedia community is into intergenerational prostitution. I don't know if you people know about it. So that is they are called DNTs, denotified tribes.
Yeah.
So I started working with them way back in 2007-8 when I was posted at one place. And I left in 2010. There the girls are prostituted by their mothers because most of the children do not have their fathers because they are fathered by customers. And they don't have identifiable biological parents. Father, in fact. So, one girl who was 12-year-old, whenever I used to visit the village, she used to come and hold me and say that I want to study, मुझे पढ़ना है. और उसकी माँ जो थी, उसकी बड़ी बहन जो 14 साल की थी, जो बाद में 17 साल की होगी, उसको किसी ने रख लिया. रख लेना का कॉन्सेप्ट उस कम्युनिटी में होता है जिसमें कॉन्क्यूबिनेज रिलेशनशिप में कोई चला जाता है. और पैसा जो माँ कमाती है वो बच्चे के आधार पे कमाती है. बच्चे को डालते हैं सो कॉल्ड उनके लैंग्वेज में धंधा, उसमें जब डाला जाता है तो उसकी कमाई से उनका घर चलता है. तो 12-13 साल की बच्ची को उसकी माँ जिद कर रही थी कि मुझे उसको धंधे में अब डालना है क्योंकि मेरी बड़ी बच्ची ने पैसा देना बंद कर दिया. अब मैं खाऊंगी कैसे, क्योंकि वो 32 साल की हो गई है. तो उसके पास कस्टमर्स नहीं आ रहे हैं क्योंकि 14-15 साल के कस्टमर्स न्यू एंट्रेंट हैं, तो उनके पास में कस्टमर आना बंद हो जाता है. तो 12-13 साल की बच्ची को वो डालना चाहती, वो मुझे पकड़ लेती थी कि मुझे पढ़ना है। तो जिद करके, लड़ाई करके उस गांव में उसकी माँ से, तो उसको हम लोग भोपाल लेके आए, 13 बच्चों को लेके आए। और उसके बाद हम लोगों ने काम करना शुरू किया उसके साथ। दैट वाज वे बैक इन 2000 व्हेन वी ब्रॉट देम टू भोपाल। आई वाज पोस्टेड इन भोपाल। तो उसके बाद काम करते करते शी डिड अ बीटेक, शी फिनिश्ड her MTech. I'm talking about just one, that particular girl.
That's brilliant.
And the best part is, you know, little more things to come. The best part is this year she has appeared in UPSC Civil Services and interviewed on 20th. तो 20 तारीख को उसने इंटरव्यू दिया है। अब भगवान से मना रहे हैं, आप लोग भी दुआएं दीजिएगा कि इंटरव्यू क्लियर कर जाए, IAS IPS बन जाए वो। सोचिए जिसको कि 10-15 दिन अगर हम लोग छोड़ दिए होते तो वो कहीं ना कहीं शायद परहैप्स उसकी माँ उसको प्रोस्टिट्यूट बना दी होती, या शी मस्ट हैव बीन प्रोस्टिट्यूटेड, सेक्स वर्कर। मगर आज यूपीएससी का सिविल सर्विसेज, द टॉप मोस्ट एग्जाम, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट आई हैव डन एनीथिंग, द ग्रिट एंड डिटर्मिनेशन ऑफ दैट गर्ल। सो वी नीड टू प्रोवाइड अपॉर्चुनिटीज। मैं यही बोलता हूं कि अगर आप अपॉर्चुनिटीज देते हैं तो होप क्रिएट होता है, और होप अगर क्रिएट होता है तो हर व्यक्ति अपनी बाउंड्रीज को पुश करने की कोशिश करता है। हमको अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड करना है, एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी आर डूइंग। आई वुड लव टू क्रिएट दैट इनटू something.
So thank you so much for that story. I think I need a minute to just acknowledge my privilege as I sit here today and, be really thankful. But thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you so much, sir. Before I ask another question, a pointed question to each of you, Priyanka, if I could start with you. This question is for everybody. Has there recently been a movie or a role that you have seen on screen that broke the stereotype for you?
So I'm going to refer this back to Huma. I was going to say double XL earlier also, so I'm not saying this because you're here, but also because, talking about weight is such an issue for women in all over the world, right? It's equated with this certain beauty standard. And to actually have, just the sass and the courage to go out and create this story where two seemingly, I remember that first scene, I saw that movie, and then that guy comes dekhne ke liye, and then he turns around and then he tells your character ki aap pehle wazan to kam kar lijiye, and he himself, look at him, it's like, so it's just the kind of confidence that our social structure has given to men, and the kind of, but how Huma's character and Sonakshi's character, there's no conversation. They're like carrying it with so much sass that, we are not really going to get like demotivated because somebody is saying something about our weight. Ki theek hai, tumko bolna hai to bolo. So just the confidence of breaking that stereotype that weight is really not my identity. Yeah. Because, we've seen stories in the past also where if some comment is made, then the girl feels like, she goes through this whole thing of, oh my God, अब मैं थोड़ी मोटी हूँ तो so that journey is also there, of course. But just how refreshing it was to see two women who completely and unabashedly embraced who they were. So that was just amazing to see, and I really think it tackled, typically like a soft issue. Like I was saying earlier that sometimes when you talk about Alia's character in domestic violence, there's a seriousness attached to it, and it is very serious. So you but there are these soft issues, which largely chalte firte. People are like, kuch bhi keh do, kuch bhi bol do. So actually creating, a role and a film that talks about that was fantastic. So I think to me, that was most recently one of the films and one of the roles that I thought really broke a stereotype which is so prevalent in our everyday lives. Yeah. So I think that's the one that I'd go for.
It's very interesting because I remember when I interviewed Huma for this very film, we were talking about women being overweight and being called out for the same. But the other very interesting point that we discovered while we were talking was that even women who are thin are body shamed. It's not just the ones who are overweight.
So weight is, you win neither way, basically, right? So
you never win, basically.
You never win, yeah. So that was amazing, and I'll just take a moment.
Sure,
I just want to reference back to your earlier question and something that Huma said about if there are more women, you just feel safer on set, and it's very interesting you said that because we did a campaign many years ago called Mission Hazar, which was a breakthrough campaign, and I got told before I was coming here that you were actually a champion for it. And that campaign...
I was a volunteer. So I was
yes,
a volunteer
you used to be a rights advocate
yes.
with the organization. So when my team got through, they were like, oh, but it's amazing how, that association has been so long, and that campaign had that line, जितनी ज़्यादा औरतें होंगी, ये दुनिया उनके लिए उतनी ही सुरक्षित होगी. So completely feel like just more women out there and the opportunities that we can give them is such a huge shift in culture in creating safer spaces, especially in the public sphere. So thank you for championing that cause.
No,
for us.
thank you for doing that campaign and for having student volunteers like me be part of it, because honestly, whatever you do in life later, you know, and I think which is why programs like this are so important. Because the more younger people are part of these conversations, when you go out into the world, you carry that awareness and knowledge with you. And so thank you.
Udai, what about you?
So I think in a certain sense I've answered the first question already. So I'll go back to what she was talking about. I started my career in the entertainment business working for a lady.
Right.
It's called Lady with a Torch, Columbia Pictures. and I built my career with them. And when I got into the business, the distribution area, especially for the Hollywood films, was a boys' club, they used to call it. So we changed that by bringing in women, and we never looked back. And think that was the smartest thing we ever did, because they worked the hardest. And one of them actually ended up working at Netflix till a few years ago. So that was a very good part. The other good thing was that, again, contrary to some of the expectations here, I worked with at least four or five female directors and released their films.
Yeah.
Whether it was Meera Nair, whether it was Gurinder Chadda, whether it was Deepa Mehta, or whether it was Revati Menon. We've released all those films. In those days, they used to think these films cannot find a release. And we said, no, we'll take it on as a challenge, and we did it. So, and we found a lot of success doing female director films. So I think going back so many years, we still had them contributing quite substantially. Moving ahead in our current role, like he said, small things, like we say, zooming in. We partnered with the Salam Balak Trust and with Whistling Woods, and we got a young girl called Jyoti More into the film program for diploma for the first year, for 1 year.
Right.
And she's come out very well, and I think she's going to mainstream in the industry. Wow. Before this, there were 2 boys that we'd taken, but this time we consciously decided that you go with a girl who will be able to do it.
Right.
And if you actually look at some of the other activities going back at the MPA, over the since 2013, we have the APSA Film Academy Fund.
Yeah.
Almost 50% of the representation has been women there. In
So
fact,
refreshing to hear that.
Most of our panels, we've never really thought of it in that way, but when we did it, we realized that they were such important contributors with their stories, with their ideas, with their contributions themselves, that it never came as a planned objective, but it grew into something like that. Over the panels that we do, whether it was at Fiki Frames or any other panels that we sponsor, it's always had women-dominated panels too, right through the years.
Right.
In fact, if you look at my own senior management team at the MPA, the majority, from our global policy head to our Asia president to our general counsel to our director of communications, all the top ladies, the chief of ops, all of them are ladies, all of them are women. So we've never really had this problem. To some extent, it was always there. It was never really the elephant in the room. And if you come back to the very recent film, The Elephant Whisperer, it's got an Oscar nomination, and it's Karthik Gonzalez who's directed it. So they have been there right through. And, some of them have not probably been as vocal or as not so prominent maybe, but I think they have always silently been creating stuff that we've always been proud and we've always been looking up to.
Thank you so much. I really hope there comes a point that we don't need to have a conversation like that because it's so normal.
Exactly.
Like you said,
that
we
should
didn't
get normalized.
Absolutely. Huma, what about you? A role that you felt broke stereotype for you? Yours or anybody else's?
There are many actually. I really enjoyed Darlings. I really enjoyed Thappad.
Yes.
I thought when I saw that film, I wish I had done that film, But I think Taapsee did a wonderful job, and Anubhav sir directed a beautiful film because, in a country where, domestic violence is quite prevalent, to talk and fight about ek thappad, in itself, and I know like how conventional theatrical wisdom, runs, right? Ki arey ye kya picture hai, koi nahi dekhega, ye kya bakwas bundle idea, and this is how people talk, right? But for a film at that point in time to come and to do well at the box office, gave me a lot of heart, to be honest. Like I really believed in this country, in the people, in being able to create a better world. So that film really resonated with me.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about physical violence, right? But there's so much up here also that I really hope that someday there's a film that talks about the emotional abuse. I mean, that's the one thing that I would love to watch.
Till then, we just have to do therapy, my sister.
Ma'am, what about you?
I will quote here one Marathi drama, Dev Babhadi. I think most of the Mumbai people must have watched that
There you got a clap.
That's why. और रिलीजियस क्षेत्र में जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, इसमें भगवान विट्ठल की पत्नी और उनके जो परम भक्त तुकाराम है, उनकी पत्नी मिलते हैं और उनके बीच में जो डायलॉग है उसके ऊपर ये केवल दो औरतें ही है इसमें, ऐसे एक वेरी गुड मराठी बहुत अच्छा ड्रामा है जो फॉर ब्रेकिंग द बैरियर्स इन रिलीजियस थिंकिंग, रिलीजियस वे, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. फिल्में तो बहुत सारी है, बहुत सारे लोगों ने कोट की है, बट आई विल अप्रिशिएट व्हाट वीरेंद्र जी हैज टोल्ड अबाउट द स्टोरी. एंड अगर ऐसी कथाओं के ऊपर कुछ कंटेंट आता है मीडिया से तो पीपल ऑल्सो विल लाइक, पीपल विल बी एजुकेटेड फ्रॉम दैट. और ऐसे कितने हम जब सामाजिक कार्य करते हैं तो इतने अनुभव है. सरोगेट मदर की क्या उसकी मानसिकता होगी, इसके ऊपर अच्छा मूवी हो सकता है. आपने बीड़ में जो गन्ना कटाई करने वाली महिलाएं, उनकी स्टोरी के बारे में सुना होगा. बिकॉज व्हेन ए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर एंगेजेस अ फैमिली फॉर गन्ना कटाई, दे कंसिडर हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ एज यूनिट, एंड ड्यूरिंग हर मेंस्ट्रुएशन it is very difficult for her to cut the गन्ना. जाके खेत में गन्ना काटना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है उसके लिए. That's why many women undergone hysterectomy there. That was the story. तो ऐसे कई सारी चीजें हैं. मतलब इतने उदाहरण दे सकते हैं कि किसी गांव में अकाल हुआ है, अकाल पड़ा है, तो यंग लड़कियां वहां की सोचती है कि हम इस साल शादी नहीं करेंगे. क्यों? कि हमें अब पिताजी के ऊपर बोझ नहीं बनना है क्योंकि फसल से कुछ आया नहीं है. इसके काउंटर में मेरा एक प्रश्न है कि ऐसा लड़कों को भी लगना चाहिए कि हमने विदाउट दहेज शादी करनी चाहिए. लेकिन ऐसी कितनी रियल टाइम स्टोरीज है जो अगर मीडिया में आती है तो उसमें एजुकेशन भी होगा एंड आई गेस एंटरटेनमेंट भी होगा. एंड एंटरटेनमेंट ऑलवेज इज नॉट हैविंग ब्यूटीफुल पिक्चर्स और लाइक दैट. लेकिन रियल लाइफ टाइम स्टोरीज को अगर हम देखेंगे तो मुझे लगता है ऐसी स्टोरीज आनी चाहिए. वन मोर पॉइंट आई विल ऐड टू व्हाट हुमा हैज सेड. विमेन रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन प्रोड्यूसिंग, इन एक्टिंग, इन डायरेक्शन, वो तो है ही, बट विमेन एट मेनी कंट्रोलिंग बॉडीज एज मॉडरेटिंग बॉडीज या सर्टिफिकेशन बोर्ड्स एंड सो मेनी थिंग्स आर देयर. इसमें जैसे महिलाओं का प्रतिनिधित्व बढ़ेगा, उसमें रिप्रेजेंटेशन बढ़ेगा, मुझे लगता है तो और ये जो एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री है, इट विल ब्रिंग और सम पॉजिटिव चेंजेस फॉर वीमेन ऑल्सो.
बट मैम आप मेरे साथ बैठना, मुझे आपकी कहानियां सुननी है. मतलब इतने अच्छे अच्छे आइडिया आपने ऐसे ही दे दिए.
जी,
आप पियो ना चाय मेरे साथ.
There are many of my friends from Bharatiya Stree Shakti are sitting there and they can share so many stories which we come across society when we work on our counseling centers. ऐसी कितनी कहानियां रियल टाइम स्टोरीज हमारे पास आती है. जरूर वी विल शेयर विथ यू.
वी मस्ट. ये चाय पे चर्चा जरूर करेंगे.
जी जी. नाइस टॉकिंग.
Sure, please.
A very important point that she has raised, नैना जी ने जो उठाया है, कि जब बात हम करते हैं फिल्म के लिए, किसी से यंगस्टर से भी बोलते हैं कि कोई ये फिल्म देखने गए तो बोलते हैं नहीं बहुत सीरियस है यार, वहाँ एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए हम लोग जाते हैं, दिमाग घर पे रख के जाते हैं, हमको मस्ती चाहिए. सिर्फ मैसेज देने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप रोतला फिल्म ही बनाइए. थ्रू एंटरटेनमेंट ऑल्सो यू कैन गिव मैसेजेस, यू कैन रेज इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यूज, ब्रिंगिंग ह्यूमर इन टू दैट, यू कैन एड इट. दैट इज वॉट क्रिएटिविटी इज. And it's a creative business that we are talking about. Movies are creative business, like, you know. So put creativity, apply your mind. Even serious issues can be shown in a better, like, you know, way, with some humor, but at the same time, send the message. You know, movies are very important because nothing has more outreach than movies.
Yeah.
And now, one good movie is being converted into so many languages. It is dubbed into so many languages. I was just sharing Rajmouli's interview day before. a couple of interviews because I was just wanted to see like what RRR was, that it has created so much of history. I mean, because first time when I saw it, I couldn't digest it. वो हर आदमी उड़ता हुआ दिखता है तो बड़ा अजीब सा लगता है यार कि मैं तो कभी उड़ ही नहीं पाया और पुलिस वाला हो के मैं किसी को उड़ा नहीं पाया दोनों बातें तो पहली बार डाइजेस्ट नहीं हुआ बट आई वाज हियरिंग दैट दे सेड लाइक स्टीवन स्पीलबर्ग ही स्टार्ट्स दैट इंटरव्यू सेइंग दैट कि ऐसा एंटरटेनमेंट मैंने नहीं देखा यू शुड हियर हिम स्पीक एंड यू नो व्हाट स्टीवन स्पीलबर्ग इज सो इतना उनको भी पसंद आया ठीक है but there was some message and when he was saying then he said like that's an amazing way of manifestation of friendship there even the emotions has been very well put depicted in that movie so that is what is his takeaway but what I am saying is as Naina is saying there are so many stories beautiful stories believe me and because of that outreach if we start doing such movies and if we start bringing that at fore then there would be so many champions in the society they will be motivated who are already working in that field and the other people will come to know that okay we can also be the champions so let us create more champions in this country that will change the world
so a very recent example that comes to my mind Darlings that also not only gave a message but it weaved in humor so beautifully to send that message that people walked away thinking about Alia and the empowerment that it gave her as a role, but also left them entertained. So
movie like the XXL.
Double XL, yeah.
Double XL.
Yeah.
So when I saw that movie, that was amazing. I mean, bringing the weight issue so well in humor, and they were taking it. Laughing at yourself is considered to be the best humor.
Yeah.
And they were doing that in the movie. Amazing.
And Swati, you spoke about the movie which also deals with the trauma here.
Yes.
I can jolly well think of two very good movies. Abhiman. Brilliant movie which brings about Jaya Bhaduri's trauma. And then you had Kabhi Kabhi. Many people miss out on that part of Kabhi Kabhi where Waheeda Rehman brings in a daughter born out of, an unmarried relationship. And that entire song, Mere Ghar Aayi Ek Nanni Pari, can bring tears to anybody's eyes.
Yeah.
Look at this latest documentary film called Jane by National Geographic. It's about a person that I'm working with, Jane Goodall. She started working with the chimpanzees at the age of 21. Today she's 86. And in that documentary film, she's asked, till when are you going to work with the chimpanzees? And after a pregnant pause, Jane says, till the day I die. Now, those are the stories that need to be told. So I always keep telling people कि मेरी दो माँ हैं. एक माँ जिसने मुझे जन्म दिया और दूसरी वो जिसने मुझे बताया कि मेरा जन्म क्यों हुआ. And both of them are extremely strong women. So when Huma said that she has seen only strong women, I completely agree. My mother was in BA Part 1 when she had me. And then she did a BA, B.Ed, MA, MA, PhD, D.Lit. A story that probably needs to be told, coming out of nothing. Had zero when they moved from Pakistan to India in 1947. And my second mother, Bachendri Pal, she's my mountaineering guru. And the kind of stories that Bachendri can actually tell from her own life. So a lot of people think of Bachendri Pal only as the first Indian woman who climbed Mount Everest. That's not her biggest achievement. To me, her biggest achievement was when she led a team of 20 women for a trans-Himalayan trek, which was 4,500 kilometers for 7 months. 7 months of day-to-day trekking. Those are the stories that need to be told.
Sure, Priyanka.
So I just wanted to kind of table a certain point around role models, yeah. And sir, आपने कबीर सिंह का example लिया हम अपने काम में because we do a lot of work in pop culture. हम बहुत बात करते हैं उसके बारे में कि कबीर सिंह and how it normalizes violence, right? Like if you are in a relationship with a girl, that love means आप थप्पड़ मारो, कुछ भी करो, abuse करो, चलेगा, yeah. So we recently did a show, right, 3-4 महीने पहले, with Varun Grover called फुर्सत में serious बातें with Varun Grover. And the premise of that show was, we wanted to understand that as a creator, what goes into the thinking, what goes into, because, everybody in the creative, a lot of people in the creative industry are pretty aware, they are pretty progressive. Yeah. So when you make a show, which is fantastic by the way, like a Sacred Games or a Patal Lok, so what is a Sudeep Sharma thinking? And where is that violence coming from in his stories? Because eventually all of them agree that that has an impact, right? Yeah. तो एक question आता है ना कि art imitates life और life imitates art की a lot of those stories are drawn from real life कि ये होता है like domestic violence है, it is a problem in our social structure. So अगर हम उसको दिखाते हैं तो actually हम real life का situation ही दिखा रहे हैं, right? So in that, one of the things that came out was, but as a writer and a creator and a storyteller or a production house or a platform, what is the kind of resolution that you can show? So don't leave it at domestic violence hota hai, because these are impressionable stories. When the audience watches it, they understand this happens. So can you leave them with something to think about, right? So on the flip side of having a positive role model, going back to Kabir Singh, we always wonder what is the social responsibility of actors. Yeah. So for example, when Shahid backs a story like Kabir Singh, right? He's like super popular. He's an icon. I'm sure he has a huge fan following. And the impact that it has in actually adding further weight and credibility to that already problematic story. And then the business side of things. Like during that conversation, one of the things that came up was, "Hum kyun banate hain?" We wanted Sandeep Vanga Reddy on that show. He refused to come, blah, blah, blah. But he's very openly gone and said, look at the business that movie has done. So how is that movie doing so well? Like, what is that driving force? So why is the Kabir Singh not tanking? Yeah. So there is a social construct there, right? Which, like I said, when right films are being written, produced, they kind of take it from there saying, but there are men like that, or there are boys like that, or people are. So where is that social responsibility in terms of what are the stories you're going to back? What are the characters that you're going to play? How do they impact? So some sort of reflection on that. And like I said, in the end, there's a lot of money that gets made, and let's not forget the fact that money drives a lot of the business. Yeah. But can there be a balance? Like, can we outrightly misogynistic story? Can we not back it up? Because in all fairness, with a A-list actor, the same thing that an Alia does to a Darling, Shahid does to a Kabir Singh. Yeah, it's both ways. So that whole idea, conversation around what is the social, and I mean, in that show, somebody came and said, we spoke to Vikramaditya Motwane, we spoke to Alankrita, we spoke to, so they very clearly said that, हर कोई नहीं सोच रहा social response, मतलब हम उसको कभी-कभी creative lens से भी देख रहे हैं, कि what is the story we want to tell. Yeah. But it is so important and critical to think about what is this, social responsibility of a creator, whether it's an actor, so that also is an angle. And I mean, is one willing to let go of the money or the business angle, or is there a way to navigate that space? So that definitely is a question that kind of needs to be at least spoken about. I don't know what's the resolution for it.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned Sudeep. Sudeep is a batchmate of mine from IIM Ahmedabad. And when he co-wrote NH10, I asked him, कि ये इतना violence कहाँ से लेकर के आए? He co-wrote. That was his first movie. And he said, Baba, 12 साल से स्ट्रगल कर रहा था तो जितना एंग्स्ट भरा हुआ था ना मेरे अंदर वो पूरा मैंने NH10 में निकाल दिया. Because that Sudeep was very different. The kind of skits we used to make while we were studying at IIM Ahmedabad were very, very light. And suddenly from him, something like NH10 coming out actually made me curious. What happened to you? And he said the film industry in this struggle. It brought it, of course, there the perpetrator of violence was also a woman. I mean, very brilliantly played by Anushka, and then even Deepti Nawal's character was a negative character. But that was very brilliantly brought out. So I agree, many a times it's also a reflection of the life that you have led.
And he also kind of said that his relationship with violence is also changing now. Maybe because he's kind of gone through a journey. And it's a very good time right now with the kind of stories that are. So my point is really not to say, I think we are at a tipping point. We are at that stage where conversations are happening. We are here today. There are platforms like Amazon, Netflix. Alternative stories are being told, and I would love to get to a point where they're never called alternative stories. Absolutely. But currently, they're being viewed like that. But at least they're being told, conversations are being had. But at the same time, there is that other side as well. So how does one navigate that space is really
I have
a
a
dilemma.
perspective of this. So as an actor, sometimes you're given something to do which is problematic. But then, and it's a very personal choice, right? So I'm offering you a perspective on this. There's a film that had released, I don't know if you guys have seen, called Django Unchained.
Yes.
Yeah? And Tarantino directed it. Leonardo played a white guy who hates black people, and he spits on them and he kills them, and he just does not even think of them as human. And I remember watching the making of that and his interview saying that, there was a moment when I had to spit on my fellow actor, my colleague, and I just couldn't do it because it was so disturbing. Because it's not just me humiliating another person, on the basis of his color and his race, but it's also the generational, racism that has been going on and what the film is trying to address. But at that point in time, he chose to do that part because an actor of his stature doing that would create a conversation around it. Now, I'm saying sometimes it can also be used to an advantage. Often I think and question myself, will I ever, play a character in which I have to kill a child? I can't think of anything possibly worse than that. But could there be like maybe a lesson in it, maybe somehow? Could that perform? I mean, again, these are all like hypotheticals, and absolutely, I don't think creators can absolve themselves of social responsibility. And I know and I don't want to talk about any specific film or maker because I feel rather uncomfortable doing that because they're not here, and I think they should be here to defend them. So without trying to like participate in a specific film conversation, I think, yes, it's disheartening when, your moral compass, feels that something is wrong, but that film goes on to becoming a blockbuster. But having said that, people are watching it. Same way people watch porn, or anything else, or violence, or I send you like a MMS clip, and before you know it, it's become viral. That is the power of media, and we can't deny that. Having said that, box office nobody remembers. That's also a fact.
Yeah.
There are films that will outlive the box office of a particular film, so I don't think we should lose heart just yet.
I think there's lots of positives just looking at this panel that we've come and learnt about today.
Can I put my perspective?
Sure, ma'am,
here?
please.
Priyanka talked about social responsibility, and I find two challenges as of now. पहले हमारी एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री कम्युनिटी लेवल पे हम जाते थे, मतलब फिल्म हाउस में, सिनेमा घर में जाके परिवार के साथ देखते थे. नाउ वी हैव कम टू पर्सनलाइज एंड कस्टमाइज गैजेट. हर बच्चा 4 साल का हो या 80 साल का बूढ़ा हो, बुढ़ी हो, वो अपने अपने गैजेट पर देख रहे हैं. सो व्हाट कंटेंट इज बीइंग ट्रांसफॉर्म, बीइंग गिवन टू द पीपल, और वो जब अकेले वो कुछ देख रहे हैं तो उसका इम्पैक्ट उनके ऊपर कैसे हो रहा है. मुझे लगता है कि एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री विल हैव थिंक ऑन दिस. एंड सेकेंडली आई वांटेड टू मेक वन मोर पॉइंट आई वांटेड टू मेक सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के बारे में. जस्ट आई डोंट नो. जैसे मुझे याद आता है मैं बताऊंगी, क्योंकि वन मोर पर्टिन, हाँ, आई गॉट इट. अभी जब हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं कि एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री कैसे बदलाव आ रहा है, कैसे परिवर्तन आ रहा है, महिलाओं का रिप्रेजेंटेशन उसमें कैसे बढ़ रहा है, अभी जो जमाना है वो चैट जीपीटी पे स्टोरीज और स्क्रीन प्ले लिखने का आ जाएगा. सो इन दैट केस मुझे लगता है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और जो भी टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवन चीज़ें अभी आ रही है और हमारे ऊपर हावी हो रही है, तो इसमें विच टाइप ऑफ जेंडर सेंसिटाइज, जेंडर न्यूट्रल डाटा वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग टू द टेक्नोलॉजी और नॉट. सो द रोल ऑफ मेन एंड बॉयज इन प्रोवाइडिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स, इंटेलिजेंस में, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में, अगर हम डेटा ही जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी देंगे तो उसका आउटपुट भी जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी आने वाला है. तो ये पॉइंट मुझे करना था. दीज आर चैलेंजेस बिफोर एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री एंड दैट टाइम इज नॉट सो फार. 2-4 सालों में ही ये चैलेंजेस आएंगे, ऐसा मुझे लगता है. थैंक यू.
आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड हियर वन थिंग. अभी तक जो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं महिलाओं के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, एंड व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट, लाइक एज मैम वाज सेइंग, जेंडर में ट्रांसजेंडर भी होता है. Again, as director NISD, National Institute of Social Defense, I had the mandate of implementation of Transgender Act, which came into effect in 2019, and 2020 में उसका rules आया था. तो sacred games में जो एक role है transgender का जो play किया हुआ है, who is against playing with Nawazuddin. So they came to me and they said कि उसका role आपको क्या लगता है कि अगर transgender सही लिया होता तो अच्छा नहीं होता. ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हमारे साथ क्यों है? अगर ट्रांसजेंडर का ही रोल प्ले कराना था तो ट्रांसजेंडर से करा लेते. हम भी उतने ही अच्छे एक्टर्स हैं, हम भी उतने ही खूबसूरत हैं. One, when we are depicting the transgenders, can that role be given to transgenders in the entertainment business? That is one thing. And second, who have already been converted into trans women. There is a difference between transgender and trans woman. Trans woman would be a trans who has been already operated and been totally converted into a woman. And the law accepts it. And the collector has to give a certificate that she is a woman and she would be having two identity. One is of a trans woman as a woman as well. All the benefits of the woman has to be given to her. There is a girl in Chhattisgarh who is doing movies as a female artist and leading the roles there. And looks beautiful. Are we ever thinking about that inclusive way of doing it? I mean, we are talking about women, but we are not even still accepting and acknowledging that there is another community called trans woman or woman. So don't you think that we should start thinking out of the box, start taking them in? So this is again one thing which I thought of should bring forth.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you all of you for being here and making the time for her story, her voice. And before we leave, may I please request all of you to stand so we can just take a quick picture. Thank you. Tell them to move there also. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Shagufta, you want me to tell them to move there? You'll take one picture for me. Hi.
Hi. You were great.
Thank you so much.
So I'll request everybody to have a huge round of applause for the entire panel. That was a highly informative, meaningful, and a thought-provoking discussion. We could get a bird's eye view of the industry, right from the obstacles to the opportunities, and how we can collectively work towards gender equality. So thank you so much. So we'll now break for lunch. Lunch is being served right outside. And I request everybody to be back here and be seated by 2:15 p.m. because our next panel also consists of some of the most renowned women from the media and entertainment industry. So thank you so much. Also, let's give some space for our dignitaries to move out, please, and then we can start going towards the lunch venue. Thank you. So I hope all of you had a fulfilling lunch. Yes? थोड़ा जोश लाओ आवाज़ में. सेकंड पैनल शुरू होने वाला है. सुबह वाला ही जोश बरकरार रहना चाहिए. So moving on to our second panel, we have an amazing lineup of some of the most incredibly talented women from the industry who are here to inspire us and motivate us with their powerful voices. So today, let's celebrate the outstanding spirit of womanhood, the spirit of finding your own voice, the spirit of having the courage to share your story and showcase your talent to the world. So no longer can her voice be muffled because she has a story and she is ready to share it with the world fearlessly. So everyone, this is her story, her voice. For the second panel, I'd request all our speakers, Ms. Jasmeet Reen, Ms. Prajakta Kohli, Ms. Mrunmayee Lagu Vaikul, Ms. Rasika Duggal, Ms. Tanya Bami, and Ms. Sucharita Tyagi to please kindly come up on the dais. Yeah.
House with a blue window. Blue is the color of all that I wear. Blue are the streets and now the trees are too.
I'm gonna hide this. There you go.
So Sucharita is going to moderate this session. And Sucharita को कोई introduction की ज़रूरत है क्या? नहीं ना?
नहीं कोई नहीं जानता मुझे
कल्चर की और फिल्म की बातें इधर ही है सुचारिता.
That's true.
So let's begin this session and over to you.
Thank you, Devalina. I appreciate it very much. Hello, ladies. Good afternoon. Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. Lunch वंच किया बीच में खाना वाना खाया सबने क्या है लंच में एक एक करके बताओ वहां से क्या खाया लंच में बेस्ट आइटम पनीर मैम इन द ग्रीन साड़ी बेस्ट आइटम गुलाब जामुन That's a girl after my own heart. यहाँ पे सेंटर में बताओ बेस्ट आइटम क्या खानी चाहिए बुफे में से आज कोफ्ता आंटी सिंह मलाई कोफ्ता कुल्फी चलो आई होप we've all made mental notes चिकन पे ज्यादा भारी है आज जनता I hope we've made mental notes for what we're eating for the lunch today जिसने ऑलरेडी खाना नहीं खाया है हेलो माय नेम इज सुचारिता मैं फिल्म क्रिटिक हूँ और फिल्मों के बारे में बात करती हूँ शोज के बारे में बात करती हूँ और नेटफ्लिक्स के बारे में मैं कुछ हद से ज़्यादा बात करती हूँ मुझे लगता है माय इंस्टाग्राम पेज इज़ लाइक अ सूडो नेटफ्लिक्स प्रमोशन पेज बिकॉज इतनी सारी चीज़ें I'm watching like almost on a daily basis and talking about Netflix. So we're here with Tanya, Prajakta, Mrunmayee, Jasmeet and Rasika. Thank you so much for making time today, ladies. And thank you to Netflix and thank you to the National Commission of Women for organizing this and for bringing this beautiful crowd here to talk to us about the role women are playing in writing, creating, developing women in popular culture. So Tanya, मैं सबसे पहले आप ही से शुरू करती हूँ as the series head for Netflix. इतनी सारी movies हैं और shows हैं Masaba, Aryanak, Paglet, and you have Kathal that's coming up. ये shows जब बनते हैं और ये फिल्में जब लिखी जाती हैं तो आप क्या genuinely जाके ढूंढ रही हैं ऐसी कहानियाँ या ऐसी कहानियाँ आ रही हैं और क्योंकि नेटफ्लिक्स पे देयर आर वुमेन इन डिसीजन मेकिंग पोजीशंस ये ग्रीन लिट हो रही हैं और ये बन रही हैं कहानियाँ
Hi everyone, good afternoon again. Thank you Sucharita for having us all. इतने सारे सवाल एक सवाल में, so I'll take it part by part.
One by one.
Okay. हाँ, हम ढूंढते हैं ऐसी कहानियाँ. I'll put it out there. We're very intentional and very excited to present stories which are about women, which are female forward, which talk about, you know, how there are such wonderful leaps women are taking in their lives. So many amazing things, jo, you know, women like all of us here and many more are doing.
Yeah.
And it is so much power that it gives to our members, to, and I would say to male and female audiences, to see our times being reflected to see this victory of women being reflected on screen, whether it is, you know, Delhi Crime with, yes, with Rasika and Shefali, whether it is, I mean, Emily in Paris.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes.
बाहर गाँव का भी तो काम हो रहा है.
Yes, where all of these characters in different kinds of stories hold their ground. They depict, you know, how we are conquering every single day in small and big ways, and that stays in the minds of our consumers. I always say that a story well told is a story that stays with you.
That's right.
And I think we try to do that very deliberately. I also think inclusion per se is very, very important to Netflix. It's something we are, again, very deliberate about. Not just in the kind of content that we make, you know, not just with a Delhi Crime and Darlings and Khufia, but also in the workforce and the voices that sort of create that, and just some numbers for you which we are very proud of. Across the world, the workforce in Netflix is actually 51% female. Yes.
That's majority female.
Yeah, and actually what's really amazing, if I may say so myself with all humility, is that amongst the 22 leaders of Netflix across the world, 10 of them are female.
That's amazing.
Yes. And
तभी बन रही है एमिली इन पेरिस.
जी.
नहीं तो नहीं बनती. वो शो नहीं मिलता दुनिया को.
खुफिया बन रही है, हीरा मंडी बन रही है, मिसमैच सीजन 3 आज हमें बताया किसी ने बन रही है तो हम बोल देते हैं. तो बहुत सारी कहानियाँ बन रही हैं, बहुत सारे अमेजिंग किरदार बन रहे हैं और उनकी जर्नीज जो है वो काफ़ी इंस्पायरिंग है, अलग अलग डायमेंशन से, लेकिन इंस्पायरिंग है.
मेरे सारे सवालों के जवाब तान्या ने, वैसे जो मैं आगे भी पूछ सकती थी वो भी जवाब ऑलरेडी आ चुके हैं.
नहीं, एक चीज़ जो मुझे बोलनी है दो, आई थिंक द वे टू टेल यू नो अ फीमेल फॉरवर्ड नैरेटिव, जो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली जो हम पहले बात कर रहे थे, इज़ not just about focusing on women, and I think that's the one thing that we are conscious of.
That's right.
I think society का जो दूसरा पहलू है, you cannot ignore it. I think a good and a complete story has to include the men in the story. It cannot be that it's just a female-led narrative. It can very well be led by a female, but the ecosystem that we live in, the environment that we live in, is incomplete without the men, and therefore the responsibility is shared.
क्योंकि हम किसी दूसरे planet पे नहीं रहते. हम विचित्र प्राणी नहीं है, सर्विसिंग वाले.
रहना चाहते हैं मे बी, लेकिन
रहना चाहते हैं. Oh my God, how much I would love to live in a house with all these women. आप imagine करो पूरे दिन क्या बातें होंगी और क्या creative काम होएगा उस घर में. But thank you, Tanya. I'll circle back to you on that. Hi, Prajakta, Mismatch season 3. Oh my God.
Oh wow. I didn't. The minute Tanya said this, मैंने react करना है या नहीं करना है. So I looked at Tanya. Tanya was laughing. I was like, ha, okay.
अभी जनता के सामने confirm हो गया, करना पड़ेगा. नहीं करना तो भी करना पड़ेगा. So Dimple, speaking of Mismatch, Dimple, Mismatch किसने देखा है यहाँ पे? There you go. पर डिम्पल एक ऐसी लीडिंग हीरोइन है उस शो की जो टिपिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स जो हमारी हिंदी सिनेमा में हमने देखे हैं बचपन से कि यू नो लॉन्ग लेग्स एंड यू नो परफेक्ट फेस, परफेक्ट स्किन, वो नहीं है. डिम्पल इज रिलेटेबल, शी इज वेयरिंग रोजमर्रा के कपड़े एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. गजल धालीवाल जिन्होंने इस कैरेक्टर को लिखा है, बनाया है, तो उनके साथ आपने काम किया डिम्पल को बनाने के लिए. हाउ मच ऑफ इट वाज योर इनपुट एंड हाउ मच ऑफ इट ऑलरेडी केम टू यू?
एक्चुअली डिम्पल केम टू मी एज डिम्पल इज. ऑनेस्टली मैं बिल्कुल कोई क्रेडिट नहीं है मेरा उसमें, मैंने कोई काम नहीं किया था. मुझे लगता है गजल की पूरी टीम ने एंड आकर्ष इन्होंने डिम्पल को बनाया हुआ था. एंड फॉर मी, मैं इतनी डरी हुई थी बिकॉज आई वॉज नॉट यूज्ड टू प्लेइंग कैरेक्टर्स आई हैव नॉट रिटन बिफोर प्लेइंग डिम्पल.
दैट्स राइट.
तो आई रिमेंबर जब मैं सेट पे थी और मेरा पहला शॉट मैं दे रही थी, आई वाज पैनिकिंग बिकॉज आई वाज लाइक, पर मैं नहीं जानती हूँ इसको.
कौन सा था पहला शॉट?
पहला शॉट था इन सीजन 1 व्हेन डिम्पल एंटर्स द क्लासरूम एंड सीज की और कोई सीट खाली नहीं है, बस ऋषि के बगल में एक सीट, एंड शी रोल्स हर आइज एंड शी वॉक्स. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट शॉट.
राइट.
एंड मेरा ऐसा था, मैं कहा आकाश मुझे नहीं पता है क्या करना. आकाश लाइक जितना हमने रीडिंग्स में किया है, जितना हमने रन थ्रूज में किया है, रिहर्सल में किया है, बस उतना ही ध्यान रखो. तो एक्चुअली शी वाज सर्व्ड टू मी on a platter. I knew exactly what she likes, what she doesn't like, and I happened to like her a lot. So that was easier.
But what was the best thing about getting to play Dimple? Like this character who is, you know, relatable. She looks like me.
Yeah.
She talks like me.
Thank you so much for saying that. You have no clue how much that means to me. जब season 1 का trailer आया था, I remember one of the comments and I'll never forget it. It said that thank you so much for finally getting a character that looks like me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes. And that was also what I love the most about her. जब पंचमी का जो हमारी casting director हैं, जब उनका phone आया था कि I want you to audition for this show that Netflix is making with RSVP, तो I was just like, okay. So उस time पे the show was called When Dimple Met Rishi on Sandhya Menon's
That's right,
book.
yeah.
तो वो जब character sketch आया मेरे पास, I fell in love with her because I was so happy to see that the sketch that came to me had nothing to do with the way Dimple looked.
Her looks.
Which was new, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे जितने में कैरेक्टर स्केचेस अभी भी इनफैक्ट जब आते हैं तो इट सेज ओ शी इज डस्की और शी इज शॉर्ट प्लम्प चबी बबली
Funny
लॉन्ग
looking.
हेयर शॉर्ट हेयर
Yeah.
राइट कॉल बबली ओह आई हेट बबली
Girl, the number of times you're so choppy.
bubbly.
You're so bubbly.
I'm not soda. Come up with a better compliment. So, and then when I read that, it said she is a gamer and she wants to be a coder. She's stubborn and
Yeah.
she not very likable.
Yeah.
Flawed. Very, very. Huh? Did
Are you
someone
saying
say-
rude or good?
Rude. I don't think she is rude. I don't think she has social skills in general.
See,
Like-
when a woman speaks her mind and everyone say ये तो rude
Yeah.
है. No, she's not.
Yeah, I don't
She
think
speaks her
Dimple
mind.
is rude. Very focused, very like future oriented, and I loved that. I was
Yeah.
like, this is a great character. I
Yeah.
know her. I want to be her.
Yeah.
So I think that was my favorite part about being Dimple.
Now I'm going to move on to the writer, not Dimple writer, but a writer who wrote Thappad. Hi, Mrunmay. Now we love Thappad. Who here has watched Thappad, guys? सबने देखी है वो फिल्म. थप्पड़ के क्लाइमैक्स के बारे में बात करते हैं. जब आपकी जो हीरोइन है वो नहीं मानती कि मैं चलो कोई बात नहीं घर चलते हैं, हो गया ना हो जाता है कभी कभी, बट यू रोट हर इन अ डिफरेंट फैशन. What was that? Like, how many people told you कि नहीं इसको बदल देते ना यार, हमारी ऑडियंस को हैप्पी एंडिंग चाहिए और women can't say कि चलो let's take a divorce and then end the story there. How many people push back and how much did you have to push back on थप्पड़? और कितने लोगों ने आपको बोला यार एक थप्पड़ के ऊपर तुम पूरी फिल्म लिख रही हो, एक थप्पड़?
So, about the climax, to be very honest, nobody pushed us. From the crew, people who we share the scripts with initially, actors, जिसने भी feedback के लिए पढ़ा, whoever, nobody pushed us on the climax at all. But everybody pushed us about this one thappad and it going to divorce. So our only explanation was always, I mean, we didn't want to give an explanation, but bato bato mein we used to only say कि this is what she is doing.
Yeah.
This is not what we are advocating to everybody who's in that situation. This is not like ये disease है तो इसका ये इलाज है.
जी.
उसके हिसाब से ये इलाज है. उसने वो किया, उसको सही लगा, उसने कर दिया. So that was a big pushback, and very honestly, as writers and makers, even we were debating this a lot. Because we are saying something which is a bit out there. You know, it shouldn't be.
I mean, such are the times we live in that it is out there, but it shouldn't be.
It should be a bit of a no-brainer in terms of not accepting it. What you do about it is each person's personality, relationship, jo bhi, whatever the parameters are. But even we debated it a lot that does it warrant this step? Is it too much? But very interestingly, the biggest debate has been about the guy's character. We were always like, अरे ये बहुत अच्छा है, इसको थोड़ा negative करते हैं. People will be like, she's so mean to leave him, he's so sweet. But then we stuck to it saying, you know, no one, if he was a beta, it would be a no-brainer, you know. But it's all just underneath, which is so much more relatable to most people, you know. So that was a much bigger debate than Ek Thappad.
So how did you push back on that debate that नहीं ये लड़का बिल्कुल हम evil colors में इसको paint नहीं करेंगे. This is a normal man we've all known, met and perhaps have in our family somewhere.
Right.
How do you push back on that?
We actually didn't fight back. We just added moments which we knew would be picked up and looked at in a different lens. Like something that I keep getting a lot from is his comment about a woman being able to buy a big car. And he's like, ये करती क्या है? And Amrita's reply is like, she works hard. You know, so we just sprinkled it with these moments. Those are enough, we felt, because I mean that's unfortunately the thinking. Whether it's my husband, whether it's my brother, father,
it's a very, and we all take it very jokingly.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really stop and say, dude, this was not fine. You know, so we didn't fight on that. We knew कि वो explain करने में नहीं होगा. They have to see it.
Yeah, and then when you have an actor like Taapsee to kind of bring that to screen, that also उसमें 4 चांद लग गए, paper पे उनका नाम आ गया, it's already like it's now elevated to that level already. She really did a
and so
fantastic
did Pavel,
job.
I think. They did a great, all the women and I think the entire cast of Dappad.
Yeah.
You know, the men, the women, everyone.
I'm gonna go to Jasmeet. Hello Jasmeet. Darlings किस-किसने देखी Netflix पर guys? हाँ, तालियां और हाथ दोनों. शाबाश. Shabash, 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 shabash. I love Darlings. It is one of my favorite films of last year. Fantastic actors, casting, amazing. Shefali तो Netflix की favorite है ही. शेफाली को इसमें कास्ट किया आलिया के साथ उनकी मदर बना के. जब 2 फीमेल कैरेक्टर्स लिखते हैं, आई एम नॉट सेइंग आजकल ऐसा हो रहा है, बट द स्टीरियोटाइप इज दैट दे आर ऑलवेज अगेंस्ट ईच अदर, वाइंग फॉर ईदर द मैन्स अटेंशन या कंपनी में पोजीशन या समथिंग, लड़ी रही होती हैं आपस में. टॉक टू मी अबाउट राइटिंग दीज 2 लीडिंग फीमेल कैरेक्टर्स, बिकॉज दोनों का स्क्रीन टाइम उतना ही है बराबर, जो लड़ने रही हैं, जो आपस में कंस्पायर कर रही हैं और प्लान्स बना रही हैं टू मेक ईच अदर विन.
Yeah, so it was very important to show mother-daughter relationship as a very real relationship.
Yeah.
एक तो when you show mother-daughter on screen, they're always very emotional, which is great. But even though you love your mother, there's always some kitch, pit. You're always arguing about something, and that's your love for each other. The other thing was I wanted them to be like sisters, because you know when Badru has to decide to leave this man or wanting to take action, it should be her decision, not because nobody wants her back. Usually क्या होता है कि I don't have anywhere else to go, so where will I go? I don't know. But here the mother is saying, please come, do what you want with him, and she's speaking her mind. So that was very important. That these 2 are like best friends, like sisters, like mother-daughter. Like they have a fantastic relationship, and she has a home. And the mother is willing to even give him rat poison.
Yeah, I love that scene.
and she's the kind of character who would actually give it also, because for her, that is her way of showing love. It's like, you know, why is my daughter taking this shit? How can she love a man like this who is... Yeah,
correct. It's an Ashirwad. She's giving, मेरा आशीर्वाद है तुम्हारे साथ चूहे की दवाई खिला दो.
Yeah. And daughter keeps saying, मुझे प्यार है, so it's like very complicated. She can't follow that part at all. So that was why it was written like that, to make it as real as possible. And then for Badru to decide and then become her mother in that sense, and then even become wiser than the mother, where she says, listen, I'm just going to walk away because that's the hardest thing to do. And then to realize that the mother couldn't walk away, that she did what she had to.
Yeah.
So it was also to see 2 women deal with violence in a very different way. They did what they had to. So yeah, that was...
And I love that Badru Nisa gets the love angle. The love story is hers. It's the mother's.
Yeah, that was also where you said, no, you always have 2 women fighting for a guy. Here you had this guy Zulfi, who you think likes...
Alia.
But
he likes Shefali.
But actually, he has this pure love for Shamshu. Yeah, and he just...
Shamshu. So when you took this to Netflix, what was that like? Like in that room, pitching this movie, pitching this story, did you immediately feel like, यहाँ तो काम हो गया, यहाँ तो इन्होंने कर दिया green light, guys, यहाँ push करना पड़ा उसके लिए भी?
I took it to Red Chillies first, then we went to Alia, then we shot the film, we made the film, and then we took it to Netflix. So by then the film was ready. So they saw it on the platter, whether they liked it or not, and I think they did. And that's how they gave it a new home. Yeah.
Rasika, hello. You've been a long-time collaborator with Netflix. And are we seeing more of Delhi Crime anytime soon, is my question. Yes? Why not? Yeah? सारे shows green light कर दो, सारे औरतों के shows green light कर दो. A huge shout out to the female cops who are here right now, all the police officers. Rasika Duggal representing you on the big screen.
Jai Hind, madam sir.
Popular culture में हमने जितनी भी female police officers को देखा है बड़ी-बड़ी फिल्मों में, वो सब मतलब attractive, good looking, hunter लेके कमरे में घुस के सबको ठाए करके निकल जाती हैं और सारी चीजें sort out हो जाती हैं. Delhi Crime was probably one of the first big productions that we've seen where female cops are shown as a muffler, sweater, गद्दे पे सो रही है. Talk to me about creating your character for Delhi Crime.
I'm very glad that they didn't have a cop who had long legs and was fighting people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have cast me.
Yeah.
But so thank you. But a very interesting experience working on season 1 and season 2. I didn't know anything about the police world. I don't have anybody in the family who's been a police officer. So मुझे लगा कि अब तो काम करना पड़ेगा. So Neeraj Kumar, who had been the commissioner of Delhi a few years ago and was a consultant on
the show,
Delhi Crime season 1 and 2. So I went and met him and I said, you know, he said he sort of took me through what he thinks is the way to prepare for the show. And I said, sir, but I really want to shadow a cop. You know, otherwise मुझे नहीं समझ आएगा कि क्या करना है, क्योंकि छोटी-छोटी चीजें कि अगर सीनियर ऑफिसर ने यूनिफॉर्म पहना हो या आपने यूनिफॉर्म पहना हो, तो अगर उन्होंने नहीं पहना हो आप सल्यूट करेंगे नहीं करेंगे. You know, police protocol, as all of you know, is मतलब बहुत specific होता है और उसको बहुत religiously पुलिस फोर्स में follow किया जाता है. And मतलब उसकी तो मैं एक डिक्शनरी भी लिख दूँ वो भी कम पड़ जाएगा. You know, जैसे अगर आप पुलिस ऑफिसर हैं तो आप गाड़ी के किस साइड पे बैठेंगे? If you're not in a uniform, there is a particular side of the car that you sit in. You know, so those small things. When you wear your beret cap, then you do this to fix that the emblem is in the correct position. So ये सब अगर आप किसी को shadow ना करो तो आप कभी नहीं सीख सकते. So he introduced me to a police officer who was in the same position as Neeti Singh was in season 1, which is a probationer officer, which is कि आप अपनी training खत्म की है police academy में और फिर आप field training पर आए हो 6 महीने के लिए. So I shadowed a cop in.
For how long?
So actually I had very little time to prep for season 1. So I had just 5 days before I got finalized for the show. This was all a little last minute, and that's another story. But I'm glad things worked out this way. And so I was shadowing her. So I didn't have my first day was like after 5 days of prep.
Wow.
But then I had time in between, so I kept like hanging around with her. And what probationer officers do is they are kind of on field training, so they are allowed to do anything that they align themselves with at that time. तो कभी पुलिस स्टेशन पे होते हैं, तो कभी नाके पे होते हैं, तो कभी कुछ भी करते हैं. So I hung out with her everywhere. And then I just felt I hadn't had enough of it in season 1, and I felt कि अभी बहुत कुछ बचा है. Not realizing that even when I have time, it's never going to be enough. But I called her up before I started shooting for season 2, and funnily enough, she was in the same position as Neeti Singh is in season 2.
Amazing.
And she was ACP at that time. So I said, you know, I want to come and meet you again. And by then we had become friends. And she said, yes, it'll be great fun. She was posted in Chandigarh, not in Delhi at that time. She said, please come. And I said, okay, I just want to be a shadow on the wall and just like sort of watch you, you know. And so don't be sort of conscious of, and because I had that rapport with her already, I could sort of do that. And I went to meet her in season 2. Of course, when she picked up the phone and she told me all that I had done wrong in season 1.
That's hilarious.
She said, आपने salute ठीक से नहीं किया, आप जब यहाँ पे बैठी थी,
review कर दिया आपकी performance का.
आपकी smartness नहीं थी जो police officer में होनी चाहिए. I said, sorry, वो सब मैं correct करने आ रही हूँ इस बार. So yeah, I went to her office and I sat there for about 5 days for many hours, and I saw situations as variable as 2 neighbors who were having a spat because somebody put kachra outside and somebody didn't throw it, and those boundaries were crossed. And at the same time, I also sat through a murder interrogation. So that was quite a variety of experiences. It's very intense to be a police officer in this country, and I have total admiration for what all of you do.
ज़्यादा नहीं हो गया थोड़ा murder investigation?
Yeah.
Little too much. But please go ahead.
You know, it's unlike what you see in the films. It's all so casual. It's every day for everybody. Yeah? So I had to sort of, during that interrogation, pinch myself a little bit and say, okay, they're talking about a murder.
Yeah, this is way out of your comfort zone. Yes. Like way out of something that you would experience in real life. But playing a police officer, I imagine, is very intense. और मतलब कहीं बहुत दिल के किसी गहरे जगह पे जाना पड़ेगा वो performance निकालने के लिए, where you're actually talking about the very serious things that Delhi crimes handles and very deftly it handles. How do you pull yourself out of that performance once it is over and you have to go to another performance? Go play a bubbly girl somewhere. No, please don't. But I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying.
I know, but you know, I'm confused about that because as actors, your attempt always is to try and involve yourself as much as you can, and I am always worried that I haven't done that. You know,
Yeah.
I always feel कि ये जितना मुझे करना चाहिए था वो हुआ नहीं है, and जितनी आप research करने जाओ, जितने लोगों से मिलो, you realize what you don't know. You know that there can be a lifetime you can spend preparing for any given part.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really you're never prepared. So I can never claim. When I'm doing a film or after I've done the film that I was totally in it. I'm sure there were some spaces still to go to which I wasn't able to access. So I keep thinking कि अगर एक ऐसा moment भी हो जाए ना जिसमें मुझे when I surprise myself with the knowledge that I have or the feelings that I have, then I would feel like I've done what I had to do.
पर ऐसा नहीं होता कि गोवा निकल गए 10 दिन के लिए. शूट खत्म हो गई बस I need to like get out of this. Mauritius चलते हैं.
I don't realize what I take away from it and how much of it stays with you. And I think as creative people, that's what all of us might experience. It's so intangible and it's so subconscious that you can, and that's the beauty of it. It's only beautiful because it's intangible, right? कि you can't say कि ये हुआ and मुझे ये experience हुआ और उससे मुझे ये लगा. तो फिर बहुत ही sad हो गया.
मैं तो सिर्फ आपको process समझने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ because I'm very curious.
It's not the beauty of it is that it is intangible. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि I was immersed in it so much and I have not been able to get out of it. No, there are things that live with you for very long.
Yeah.
For example, I've done a film called Hamid, which is also on Netflix, and I didn't realize how much of it had stayed with me for so many years. Till today, when I listen to the story of a Kashmiri woman, it moves me in a deeper way than it would have before I had done the film, where I was just probably looking at stories from Kashmir as news articles.
Yeah.
You know, and they meant
क्योंकि
something.
हम देख के इतना इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हैं that हम सबकॉन्शियसली उनके मैनरिज्म्स कॉपी करने लग जाते हैं एक्टर्स के, वो जिस तरह से बोल रहे हैं. मैं इस वक्त शिट्स क्रीक का रिकैप देख रही हूँ नेटफ्लिक्स पर, and I am like all of them, like I've picked up something from everyone. Before I start to make my way back that way, अब हम ऐसे शुरू करेंगे. Once again, I want to thank National Commission for Women for this partnership with Netflix and making this happen today for us. We're all very thankful. See, I'm doing the Alexis shoulder. I'm doing the shoulder, I'm telling you.
You're also doing the
Yes, because I'm watching like 5 episodes before I go to bed because it's such a stress relief for me to watch those 20 minutes episodes. So I'm like, it's so annoying. But just me. Now I'm going to walk this way. आप मुझे बताओ कि you know, you are in charge of your movie set जब आप film बना रहे हो, and as a director, has it been challenging for you to make people feel like you are in command of this movie set and they have to take instructions from you? Because people tend to fall in line faster when there's a man giving out instructions. They tend to listen to them. Acha, haan, boss ne bola hai. So what has that been like for you, commanding a movie set?
Well, it was my first movie, so actually on my set, everybody had more experience than me. So, but I told myself that I know my script best, I know my characters best. As per gender, no, I think if you accept that you are gender agnostic and you're not man or woman, I think people do. I think it works like that, and now there are lots of women on set also. And पहले क्या होता था, costume ladies होती थी. They used to get female job. I mean, the women used to just be costume ladies or something like that. Like right now, my art director, Garima, she has an all-women crew. And with art directors, what happens is that you're dealing with a lot of men because men are typically carpenters or painters, and they are making the set for you. But they were all women crew, so I think it was ऐसा नहीं था. Luckily for me, because I think we had a lot of women also. So yeah.
So HODs आप कह रहे हैं अभी change हो रहे हैं, and lots of women are stepping into these roles. So talk to me about that, the change that you've observed on movie sets.
Right now there are women cameramen, there are women gaffers who pull focus for cameramen, there are women who are lighting, which is very, very rare before. So I think a lot of women are coming in, and as she said, like 51% women in Netflix is big.
Yeah.
See, what happens is that there are women who are hiring women, that also makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Like she's made Thappad, I've made Darlings. Look at the different perspectives on the same subject.
Yes.
So that's what we will get to see. I think it's a very exciting time, and we both picked up I mean, I went and watched Thappad actually because we were making Darlings and this movie came out. I said, oh my God, the same subject and whatever. But when I watched it, I said, there's nothing close to darlings. We had a very different perspective. But look at what happened. And a lot of these things are happening now.
Yeah.
A lot of writers are women. So I think it's a very exciting time to see different perspectives. Yeah.
I just want to add that, I think women are getting to tell their stories. And I just
Women
wanted...
telling women's stories.
I mean, and I also feel...
And men's stories.
Yes.
And men tell women's stories. I mean, Imtiaz is directed and showrun She, which is one of the most powerful stories about women. But I think it's the time for people to tell stories they believe in.
Ji.
And I think, to your point, the question that you're asking, actually, I think what's really amazing about OTT as a phenomenon, and I don't refer to just us, is that I think everyone's got the ability to have their voice. Whether it is writers, creators, directors, actors, the crew on set. I think there is just such a, it's such a golden age of content.
Yeah.
And especially for women. And here I can talk about us a little bit, which is from 2022 to 2023, we've seen like a 45%, upwards of 45% increase in the female workforce on our shows and films.
Wonderful.
So that's really the revolution that I wanted to highlight. And I just felt that, with this platform, Her Story, I think it's important to actually thank the NCW and for opportunities like this, where we are able to come and actually discuss the power of these stories.
Yeah.
It is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Mrunmayee, you are now writing with Netflix. You're writing Scoop with Hansal Mehta, where you have a journalist. Journalist characters also like cop characters. If you're a woman, more often than not, you see, things are changing right now. We've had some really nice representation of, women playing journalists. But talk to me about writing a journalist for the screen. Are you meeting journalists, spending time with them? What's that process like for you as a writer?
So, I wrote Scoop in the very first lockdown.
Acha.
So there was no way to get out and actually physically go see spaces, meet people in person. And we were really exploring a lot of stuff I never thought I would be writing about. Like I remember, I almost chuckled because I was writing a scene between the warden of a Baikala jail, an ACP and a khabri. And I'm like, how am I writing this? I don't know what they talk about. It just feels ridiculous that I'm writing three voices I've never heard met.
You should have called Rasika and asked her for research.
I really should have. So all the research was online, phone calls. I had a really great guy who was doing it. He is a journalist. So yeah, I was interacting with him a lot. And I think from the very start, when that book, Behind Bars in Baikala, came, me or Hansal sir, we never saw it as a woman, to be very honest. For us, it was a story about a journalist wrongfully accused for another journalist, something that goes wrong. So when I was speaking to various friends of mine who are journalists, it didn't strike me as, coloring a character with a certain gender, quite honestly. Behind, I think, every journalist, there is a philosophy at play most of the time by which they operate. We really had to struggle to find those philosophies for the 5, 4, 3, how many ever journalist characters there were. Because they were all going to be different shades, they were all going to serve a different purpose in the narrative. And yes, someone would serve a catalyst, an antagonist, all these broad strokes would be there. But at the end of the day, they were all servicing their own philosophy and what they needed to do at that point. So we were very careful to treat them as people before the profession or the gender came ahead. So even if it is a slightly antagonistic person in the newsroom, there is something that he's striving to achieve.
Yeah.
So that was very important to see, to give them a perspective for what they are doing, why they are doing all of that. So speaking to journalists really helped. Watching the reportage at that time, because it was insane, like literally that's all we were seeing.
That's all
right?
we were doing, watching
that,
the reportage.
And hearing a lot of journalists who are very close to me having a bit of a breakdown because of the environment we were in at that time. All of that played a big part in writing that. So even though I wasn't able to get out and see and physically do the legwork, I was getting a lot of material.
So when you go on sets with your story, do you sometimes feel like, maybe I can tweak this a little bit and like change it up a little bit.
Oh, all the time.
So how do you deal with that?
I don't know. I don't know how to deal with that yet. It depends on
Because
the
as a
director.
writer, your job is never over. You're always watching and like, isko change karna hai, ye
Yeah. So my face is always in like
exactly
like this.
thoda sa.
Yeah, so that's like Anubhav Sinha.
Let me please say, everybody in the film who's worked on the film is always watching the film like I did it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cringe.
So it actually depends with my director. So like Anubhav sir, he wanted me on Thappad like all day, every day.
Acha, on the set.
Yeah, and he used to always say, "ये गंदे चेहरे बनाती है," because I used to be like like this the whole time. I wanted to change.
Actors को डरा रही है मृण्मयी.
So he's like, two actors के सामने बैठ मत, because they'll mojo will just drop.
That's so funny.
But with Hansal sir, he kind of understands where I'm coming from, so he'll kind of come to me and he's like, क्या हुआ? Anything is wrong? And I'll be like, sir, this, that, and the other. We should like, no, we've done something wrong. And he's like, stop. We've thought and rethought every single word.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the time to just do it.
That's why you have to write and direct your own movies.
Yeah. Prajakta, now you are the newest entrant on this panel in the industry as a full-time actor, doing movies, doing series, your own series. But आपने शुरू किया था छोटे platform से, YouTube से, social media से. And as a female voice on YouTube, what have been your learnings that you want to share with the younger female audience who wants to come on YouTube as a content creator? Because आपका काम है अपना opinion देना, खुद खड़े होके face अपना लेके सामने. You're not anonymous when your name is on the channel. What would you want to say to new people who want to enter this field and perhaps follow your career path?
I think honestly, and this I realized and learned it much later. I've been doing this for over 8 years now.
Correct.
I started in 2015, so it's been quite some time. And I think थोड़े सालों बाद मुझे समझ आया कि this is what it was. I think one of the things which I subconsciously did, and I would have taken a lot of pride in saying that that was a conscious decision, but it wasn't, that no matter what content I was writing or performing or speaking for, I never made it about my gender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was never that, okay, maybe I should speak about this because I'm a woman. Or maybe I shouldn't speak about this because I'm a woman. Or like, is it okay if I speak about this? I remember it wasn't even a thought when I decided to move my content from just me to like doing characters. It wasn't even a thought that came to my mind, ki, who will play my brother? Like, I'm writing a script where I need a brother. Like, who will play it? But I was like, I'll play it. I'll draw a stash on my face. I'll play it. So I feel like I reached a point where I was like, and I realized it much later. So I think that's something that I tell a lot of my viewers who ask me this, that no matter what you do, and again, I'm very new, I'm learning, it's a long, long journey, but I think one of the things that helped me is that don't let your gender, don't let it be about your gender, and that kind of uncomplicates a lot of things in your mind. When you're making a decision.
She's also a writer-director in a manner of speaking. She's written for herself for years and kind of directed herself for years. So in a manner of speaking for a different platform. Yeah, I mean different platform, but like, you know, if I had to describe it, writer-director, you've written your own stuff.
Yeah.
But are you still continuing to write for yourself? How are you straddling these two careers now you have going as an actor who has to listen to someone else's instructions and as someone who has to give yourself instructions
Definitely.
constantly?
In fact, in the lockdown.
Are you losing your mind?
Yes. Can't you tell with how much concealer I have on right now?
Dark circles.
Are you mostly sane?
I am mostly, yes. But you know, something similar happened to me in the lockdown where we all got so much more time.
Yeah.
I ended up writing a lot. Also, because I've been doing this, I was 21 when I started making content on YouTube. I'm going to be 30 this year in June. I'm so excited.
Welcome to your 30s.
I'm so excited. But during the lockdown, I also realized that something also changed in my mind with the way I want to write or the way I want to package and show stories, the way I consume content. So what I did was I actually sat down when the whole world kept telling me, Prajakta, it's going to be short form. You know, you have to go short form. I was just like, I want to do episodic. So I ended up actually writing a few original ideas that we're now developing, hopefully. It picks up, there's some exciting conversations happening for the channel, for like, hopefully Netflix. That's one thing which I absolutely love, and I don't think I'll ever stop writing.
Yeah.
I've always said this because I realize that my audience and this confidence that I get to kind of get up every day and do these things that are like way out of my comfort zone comes from the fact that I have a very loyal audience standing very strongly
Oh
behind
yes, I've
me.
seen them.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
seen them at YouTube Fan Fest.
Yeah. Well, I could, if there's any guts I have in general, it's because I know that if I'm wrong, I won't have an audience that will say, you're like, go, no more. They'll say, hey, it's fine. You know what, try again, it'll be fine. And that gives me a lot of motivation to keep doing what I do. So I'll definitely keep writing, making content, yes, because I love making videos. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's fun being an actor. I like it. You know, Akash said this.
Rasika's laughing. Why? It's not fun for you?
Is that?
Like you, what is this laughter?
What is it? What did I say?
She was so passionate about the video
so
making, and then she said, it's fun being an
No, I don't want it to come.
Acting bhi theek thaak hai, she said.
But like Akash had said this to me once. He said that being on a film set is like tasting blood. Like you cannot
never
be
want to go
off
back.
it. And I felt that so much.
Yes.
And why I said it's fun is because like as a content creator, I have to be like, oh, okay, so like, have you finished writing? Have you finished shooting? Can I see this shot? Is the framing okay? Should we do like, what is the thumbnail going to be? What is the poster going to be? When do we announce this? With acting, I get into hair and makeup, do my lines and just like sit.
किताब पढ़ रहे हैं,
Yeah,
time
I'm
pass
just
कर
like,
रहे
that's
हैं.
it? They're like, yeah. Okay, take, you can go chill in the van. And I'm just like, wow, that's great.
So you're saying running your own channel is much harder
For me, yes.
Yeah, because it's your business. You're running it like a business.
Yeah, but when I get to be on a film set, I get to collaborate with these geniuses from across the country, across
right.
the world. And I love doing that because every time I have free time, I'll go and sit down next to my director and be like, so what is this about? And he's like, Radhika, hang on, we're working here. I love having these conversations. There's so much I get to learn. I make friends. I meet so many newer people.
Yeah.
So I love it, and that's why it's funner.
That is one thing you have in common with Mrunmayee. Both your directors are like, calm down. It's like, we're okay. We got this. Get out. अभी हमें रैप करना है, अभी हमारे पास 2 मिनट बाकी हैं, बट मैं एक सवाल एक्टर्स से पूछना चाहती हूँ, हंसी आ रही थी ना रसिका को, कि what is the most random acting brief you've received in your like acting career, कि ये करना है, and you're like, करना है, ये करना है.
No, when I started acting professionally after I finished from the Film Institute, for the longest time the brief was, we want you to be bubbly, like Kareena from Jab We Met, and it was always that. So
मैं अपनी favorite हूँ.
For 30 auditions, it was Kareena from Jab We Met, and I loved the film and I loved her performance, but I didn't think I could do it.
Yeah.
so that was for the longest time that had been the brief.
Well, Prajakta, for you, a lot of people must have come to you before you decided to make your acting debut कि हमारी फिल्म में heroine की best friend बनो, sister बनो सिर्फ.
Voice of reason bano.
Voice of reason bano. What was that like for you before you finally decided that this is going to be where I'm going to go to Netflix?
I mean, there weren't a lot, honestly.
यार heroine की best friend के तो बहुत offer आते होंगे, तो
2-3
वो
हुए
मुझे
थे.
भी आ जाते हैं. I'm like, मैं actor तो हूँ नहीं, guys.
नहीं, 2-3 conversations हुए थे. I went for the auditions and I had meetings with directors. But for some reason, I felt like क्या जल्दी है? It's okay. I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now, and it should feel right because it's a huge step. I mean, it's way out of my comfort zone. As much as I loved being on camera, acting, stuff like that, auditions scare the shit out of me.
It's very difficult.
I can't, I'm like, everything generally overwhelms me. Like, I'm sweating so much even right now. But like, it was very uncomfortable. And for some reason, it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Because again, like I said, it was very like, she's bubbly and she's going to be like
Cutie
she
pie.
tells the heroine what to do. I said, why haven't you written your heroine who knows what she should do? Why
Well said.
Like, don't do it like that. No, like, it doesn't. But anyway, so I'm so
Or
glad.
that bubbly people are not always bubbly all the time for no reason.
Can I get a character who's like sad? But no.
Or normal,
Yes. Normal
but
person.
yeah, but I'm so glad that I kind of acted on my instinct at that time. And I was
Yeah.
like, let's not, and
Yeah.
let's wait. We'll see what happens. And then Dimple came to me.
Well, 3 cheers to all of your instincts and making it happen for all of us. And it's just such a delight. Tanya, thank you so much. Prajakta, Mrunmayee, Jasmeet, Rasika. thank you so much for being so candid and giving all my questions some serious thought and answering them all. Thank you so much to the audience for being here today. Thank you to NCW again for making this happen. My name is Sucharita and this was wonderful. Thank you. Before we wrap, I would like to first take a picture with the panel. Do we have a photographer? Yes. Okay, we're going to take a picture with the panel and then we have some special photo ops with all our अफसराएं who are here. तो 1 मिनट में मैं आपको भी ऊपर बुलाती हूँ. एक बार पैनल की तस्वीर ले लीजिए सारे. मैं खड़ी होती हूँ इस साइड में. या मैं भी आ जाऊँ? Thank you. And all our wonderful police officers, may I please request you to come up on stage. आ जाएं यहाँ पर हमें तस्वीर लेनी है. Thank you so much यहाँ पे आज आने के लिए.
Yeah, just a second. I think we'll just end this panel first.
Oh,
and then
okay.
We can have the photo op at the
No,
last.
with everybody and then
after
one
this.
with Rasika also.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to say.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a very impactful panel. बैठ जाओ अपने बारे में थोड़ा सा अच्छा सुन लो.
वो देवलीना कह रही है 1 सेकंड के लिए रुक जाते हैं.
So that was a very powerful and phenomenal panel. A huge round of applause for all our speakers. You see, knowledge is power, but to share that knowledge is to empower. So I feel these insightful discussions not only make us conscious of our responsibility, but also lead us to ideas on how to empower each other. So I'm very grateful and thankful to our Honorable Chairperson, Madam Rekha Sharma, for her vision, guidance, and leadership so that we could conceptualize and execute this program so well, and also to Netflix for collaborating with us on Her Story, Her Voice. So thank you so much to all the panelists once again.
Thank you so much. And now may I request all these wonderful ladies to come up on stage. आप सब आ जाएं, शर्माएं नहीं, आ जाएं ऊपर. One we'll take with the whole panel and then we'll do one with Rasika.
Just a second.
Later on about it. Yeah. Yes, she's there. Yes. Also joining us on stage, Rekha Sharma. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. No, let them do it. Thank you. मैं आगे चली जाती हूँ.
Requesting everybody to be seated, please. Yeah. Requesting everybody to be kindly seated, please. Yeah. So on behalf of the National Commission for Women and Netflix, we want to thank everybody who is here today. Thank you so much for coming here and have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you so much. So we also have high tea and snacks for some of, those who are here.